guys, 8:01 on my watch, which means I'm the traditional 1 minute late. So welcome to Friday night. Happy May Day, happy Beltane. If you're not sure what Beltane is, you're about to find out. So hopefully by the end of this session, you'll have a whole new reason to be celebrating this glorious time of year. So thank you all for joining me tonight. Thank you to those of you who've never been before. I know a few of you it's your first time, and some of you have been joining me for loads of these. So to all of you, thank you very much. It's amazing to be able to still keep working and practicing in these times. And I think hosting these soundscapes is one of the things I love the most about my job, because it kind of brings together not just the sound, which is, you know, the practical therapeutic stuff I do one-to-one a lot, but it brings together the, you know, the ritual and the reiki and the crystals and the shamanism and the Wicca and all the other stuff that kind of makes up the whole kind of jigsaw of how I like to practice and live. And these soundscapes evolved from just doing gong baths and beginning to introduce a few oils and a few crystals, and people ask questions, and now they've become their own little beast. And from that, we've now got rock and ritual, its own little kind of side beast. So it's always exciting to be able to share these with you, and I'm really happy we've managed to make it work in cyber world. So wherever you are, I hope you're comfortable. We'll be together for about an hour and a half, maybe slightly under. I'm trying to get a little bit snappier at the front section of these. If you joined late and didn't hear me mention already, please make sure you have your headphones, if possible. It isn't the end of the world if you don't have them, but it really will make a difference to the sound. So take the moment now to go and grab them if they're in another room, or if you have better ones, or someone in your household has some big over-ear like Beats or Bose Quiet Comfort or something. Get a blanket, get cozy. Even if you're pretty toasty and warm now, the sun is going to go down fully in the time we're together, and you will get cold in meditation. And I said a few minutes ago that the crystals I'm working with tonight are carnelian and rose quartz, as well as regular quartz and selenite. So if any of those are crystals that you like to work with and you have them in your home, do feel free to go and grab them. A few bits of admin. Sound, I think pretty much all of you have experienced sound before, whether with me or with someone else. Even through the magical internet, sound has a very transformational effect. It will take 3 or 4 days for the sounds and the vibrations to work through your body, so you may notice yourself feeling a little more heightened, or a little kind of either on edge, or things coming up for you in the next few days, or it might be the opposite. It's usually quite polarized. But be mindful that for 3 or 4 days after this, that's normal, and to expect those kind of responses. We're also coming into a full moon, of which more in a second, so that will certainly have an effect. Just going to have a quick look at who else is in and make sure we're all in the room. Okay, hi Nadia, welcome. Okay, I've got my mic on a slightly different level to usual, so if you guys are having trouble hearing me, or if it's any different in a way that isn't good for you, just give me a shout in the chat. I will try and keep an eye on the chat as much as I can, and for the first 20 minutes, but obviously bear in mind that the more I'm reading that, the less I'm talking to you guys. So I'll just keep an eye on it for any problems. So Beltane, what is Beltane? Well, it's traditionally originally a Celtic and Gaelic festival. It marks the halfway point between the spring equinox, which was actually the day or the weekend that we went into lockdown, so probably a weekend none of us will ever forget. The spring equinox was the 21st of March this year, and it's halfway between there and summer solstice, which I'm sure we all know is the end of June. So May the 1st, May Day, Beltane, is traditionally the first day of summer. And this festival, this fire festival we'll call it, is so called because the word Beltane comes from 2 words. The Celtic word bel, which means bright one, and Tane, or T-E-I-N-E, which in Gaelic means fire, so bright fire. And Beltane is traditionally marked with bonfires. We're all very used to maypoles and seeing some of those kind of, especially if you live near Padstow, some of those kind of mad floats and Morris dancers, and I'll tell you some more about that in a minute. But the traditional festival is really about transition and purification, and those are the themes that we're going to be working with most specifically this evening. So I guess to start, in the pagan history, this season, this kind of Beltane season, is the beginning of the light season. In paganism, in the Druid history, in Wicca, the year is divided into two parts, light and dark. And we're officially coming into the light season now. Samhain, Halloween, is the official beginning of dark season. And this is really about celebrating life and the growth of life and fertility and birth, whereas those dark season festivals, particularly Samhain, are about celebrating death and the other aspect of being. So this is a beautiful one. It's just bright and sunny and warm and uplifting and joyful, and it's about the kind of these, not the very first kind of spurts of new life that we had back at the earlier parts of spring and in Mulk, but really the kind of the blossoming and coming to the life, the fruition of life. So a way I like to think about it is that Beltane is a celebration of the forces of nature. So it's something I've really noticed, I think a lot of us have while we've been in lockdown, is just how technicolor and surround sound and amazing nature is. And maybe that's because we're inside more, we're appreciating it differently, we're engaging with it differently when we do go outside. But everything just seems, you know, regardless of the weather, everything just seems that bit more special and that bit more illuminated by circumstance. So Beltane really is a celebration of the forces of nature. And I know my garden, I live right by the beach on Pentyre at Fistral Beach, and I've been seeing so many bumblebees and so many seagulls, like so many seagulls. And one of my cat brought in a couple of baby mice the other day, which was, you know, not far off form for him and never that fun. But I was like, wow, we've lived here 3 years and I haven't seen him do that. There's not been that wildlife around. So there's definitely a season of the potency of earth, of new life, of kind of inevitability of life breaking through after winter, and that's really exciting. So Beltane, fire, bright fire. Traditionally, the pagans used to extinguish all the fires in the house on Beltane Eve on April the 30th. They would get rid of all the fire, turn all the fires off, stamp everything out, get everything dark, and then the sunrise in the morning of Beltane, they would light the fires again, and these would be the summer fires. And this was symbolic of a new season, of all of the cows going out to pasture, all of the kind of new life, all of the calves and the lambs kind of beginning to appear in the fields alongside their mothers. And it's really a season of fertility. And actually, when you look at Beltane from the Wiccan perspective, it's very much about the womb and fertility and kind of, I guess, consumption between the gods and goddesses. And actually that maypole tradition I mentioned, I'm sure lots of you are aware that the maypole is representative of the phallus, and the little circle at the top, the ring of flowers, is representative of the goddess. So without being too graphic, you can all visualize the god and the goddess and their meeting in this season of fertility and abundance. So it's very much a season about union, the coming together of male and female, of nature, of heaven and earth, of sky and ground, to produce something amazing, and a new part of life and a new lightness of life. So this season is very feminine in lots of ways. Obviously, it is the union and meeting of man and woman and male and female. The May Queen is the goddess, and Jack of the Green, the god, traditionally in pagan tradition, and we see that reflected through the Wiccans and through the shamanism as well. But we find that really it's focused on womanhood and fertility and love and romance and sensuality. So as well as kind of vitality and virility, sensuality and kind of all those cues and symbols of femininity are the things that we really focus on. So I brought my roses, which I was gifted yesterday on the bi-weekly shopping trip. My favourite colour, they're this kind of lovely fiery coral. I hate pink roses and I hate red roses even more, but these are perfect, hot, like fire. So flowers, roses in particular, are a really great signifier for this season, and I'm not sure, I hope you guys can see a little bit of my ritual space down here. I've tried to slightly skew the room so you can see it without me setting fire to myself, which is what I normally try to do in these. So I'm going to shimmy over a little bit and just talk you through what I've got here. So if you're working with any rituals, you can take note or use these yourself. So obviously the first thing we need for a fire festival is fire. So I've got quite a few candles here, and normally in ritual I would just work with one candle. Tonight I've got 5 on the go here. And I'm just realising I think this might be on audio still. I'm going to make it easier for myself. Let's see who else has jumped in. Slight interruption, sorry guys. So I've got 5 candles here tonight, and I've tried to pick different types of candles with different scents to tell different stories really. So I've got these awesome little dudes that I've been making recently, and these are all very floral. And then my little tea lights are very earthy, and I have a Palo Santo candle at the back, which is kind of very spiritual. Palo Santo, the holy wood, is from the same wood as frankincense. And as long as it's sustainably farmed, there's no problem using it. You just need to be really careful where you're getting your supplies from. So I'm beginning by fire starting. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a way to fit the Prodigy into my playlist tonight, even though it fits very well. So we start our Beltane ritual by getting the fires going. I'm also working with some incense, and I use for this, and I can't pick it up because it's so hot now, but one of my little bowls with a charcoal disc in it. So those of you that have got the Rock and Ritual boxes on the way will have a little disc in there that you simply light with the match, and nothing seems to happen. It sparks a little bit, but then it will quickly heat up and go completely white like a coal. What I'm putting on it to show you in more detail is this little one I made earlier. So this is a mixture again of Palo Santo, of desert sage, of rose petals, of frankincense, and some dried jasmine. So these are all scents which are very sensual, very much to the femininity and sexuality. They're the kind of things you get, you know, in Yves Saint Laurent opium, and those real aphrodisiac scents. And that's really what nature's aphrodisiac is. And they're mixed in with sages, which are also in the oils I'm using today to represent the earth. So a lot of this festival is about this meeting of heaven and earth, of gods and goddesses, men and women, fertility, conception, creation. So it's really nice themes to work with, to have a mixture of kind of feminine, sensual aspects of your ritual, and then some really earthy, more masculine ones. And if you're like me, you kind of prefer the masculine scents anyway, and the feminine ones can be quite heavy and heady, so they need knocking back a bit with the earth. So the way it works with raw incense, and if you guys have got the boxes coming, will need to see, you just shake a little bit out onto your palm and sprinkle it, and this is where probably everything will literally go up in smoke. Sprinkle it onto your charcoal disc, and that will gently burn it from underneath. So just start shouting at me in the chat if you guys see any flames that aren't supposed to be there arriving from this area. So as well as my fire, lots of it, my masculine and feminine yin-yang balanced incense, I've also got my crystals, which I don't tend to use as much in the Wiccan rituals. They kind of tend to stay more for my astrological and reiki work. But there's always crystals that are relevant to the season, and it's good to just use that energy from the mineral alchemy of earth to help amplify what you're doing in your ceremony. So I'm working today with my rose quartz, which I bring to show you guys quite a lot, which of course is very representative of love, of the 4th chakra, the heart, femininity. And then I'm also working today with carnelian, which we used a few moons ago together, and this is a lovely orange stone, really representative of vitality, of virility. It's quite a masculine stone. It weirdly then is represented by the sacral chakra, and this is very sensual, and again very fitting of the themes of the season. So I've just made myself just a small grid today, nothing too fussy. I'll take a photo of it in a second before it gets dark and pop a picture of it on my stories. If you guys want to have a look, you can. And this is just what I'm using today to kind of set my space, to get the right energy into the space, the right air, the right smoke, the right scents. And I think, as you all know, I find scents so important in working with sound. The smell is the first sense we acquire when we're born. It's the last one we lose when we die. It really plugs into some deep memories. It's used a lot in past life work. And the Akashic record, accessing kind of intuitive memory and higher consciousness. So using scent might seem just like a way to blitz a load of essential oils into the air, but actually I really find it fundamental to accessing the messages that come through from the sound. So as well as trying to smoke myself out with my incenses, I'm also using my little oil blend. And again, if you guys have got the boxes, you'll have something very close to this in them. This is a mixture of yang and rose and jasmine, which are all very feminine, very sensual. And then also cedarwood and sage, which are really groundy and earthy, and this just helps us again to access these Beltane themes, forces of nature, potency of earth and of life. So we'll get started on our intention setting, I think. So if you are working with crystals, and I'm going to take the carnelian in one hand and a rose quartz in the other, then it's a really nice way to work with two stones at once. If any of you are Reiki attuned and you'd like to practice along using your own channel, the symbol I'm working with today is the harmony symbol, Sehi Ki. So if you are attuned and you want to access that symbol in your own practice, then the harmony symbol, it's often, you've probably heard in your own training, but harmony, Sehi Ki, is about the meeting of earth and sky. So very much a story of dualities. And actually I really like how this festival falls this year, because we're more than halfway, but we're between the earthy Taurus new moon and then the full Scorpio moon, which is next Thursday. So again, earth, water, real feminine and masculine comparisons. So let's move into our intention setting. Obviously, if you do want to journal at any time, if you like to write your intention down, don't feel you have to stay with my schedule, do whatever feels good for you. It's your practice. I'm just here to give you some pointers and some tools to work with. I'm sitting sideways so I don't give you all an over feminine shock. We're not into that kind of work yet. So taking one crystal in each hand, and I like to let the crystal sit in the palm of my hand, let the fingers fall open and the eyes softly close. Beginning for the first time to hear the pauses between my words. Arriving in your practice, your meditation this evening. If you are working with rocks, seeing if you can really feel them in the palms of your hand or wherever you're holding them. See if you can feel the vibration, the movement of the rocks, the energy they're drawing from the earth, drawing from their own history that's imprinted in their chemistry and their geology, being passed on to you in this sacred space. Softening into your physical body, feeling safe and held wherever you are, whether you're lying, whether you're sitting, in whatever space you found to be yours this evening, settling in. Tonight we're working with the Beltane themes of transition and purification. A fire festival is always about purifying, about burning away the old to make way for the new. And traditionally, lighting the fires is about longer, lighter days where there's more space to create and more space to grow. It's the time of the blossoming of flowers, of trees, of bees, of all nature's activity that's out there for us. So as you settle into your early meditation, begin to think about your intention around this transition, this growth, this purification. What do you want to grow? What seeds of fertility that you maybe sowed earlier this year, maybe at Imulk back in early February, way before we knew how the world was going to turn out this year. What seeds did you sow, and where are you at with that? What would you like to happen next? As we're in a state of transition, now's a good time to think about where you're going. Are those seeds still in the right place? Do you need to transplant them and put them in a new pot? Are they outside and need to come in, or the other way around? Do they need more room to grow? Lots of gardening analogies available to us at this time of year. And finally, thinking about purification. What needs cleansing out of your life? What would you like to burn away over this season, this ritual? What would you like to not take with you? Or what are you done with? It's already served you, and you can look at it with thanks, with gratitude, and then gently let it dissolve, leave it behind. Transition and purification. Spend a moment aligning our subconscious and physical bodies together. This is what the energy of the harmony symbol in Reiki does for us, drawing together the physical and the spiritual. Just like in our current cosmic orbit, the Taurian energy is a balance between our earthly materialistic aspect and our intuitive third eye spiritual aspect. See if you can arrive at a short sentence. Maybe it's an affirmation, or maybe it's more an intention, just about what you are looking to work towards out of this Beltane season. What does this fire season mean to you? If you're struggling to come up with something, you can try, I would like to transition from or to, and I would like to purify, and just put a word after those sentences. Once you're happy, you've got your intention, we'll just begin to work with our fire ritual for a few more moments before we move into the sound proper. These crystals were literally jumping out of my hands while I was sending their energy to you all. You're all drawing it in. I'm placing my crystals back on my little ritual space. This incense is still going strong. It's going to smoke me out. I had to take the smoke alarm out of this room to make sure I didn't set them off during sessions. We'll just spend a moment sitting with our intentions, working with the first aspects of sound that we're going to hear tonight, which is the Himalayan bowls. And these bowls are used by yoga teachers, clearly, by monks, by temples, by sacred spaces all over the world, for the purity of their tone, for their ability to help you maintain and hold on to a mantra in your mind. It's really useful to apply a mantra when you first hear these bowls. So again, if you have a mantra you like to work with, you can call it into mind now. If you don't, then I would suggest so hum. Inhaling, hearing the word so, and exhaling to the word hum. Kind of like ham, but more of an O in the middle. So hum. So hum. you're working with a ritual in your space this evening, now's a really good time. If you haven't already, just spend a moment with the flames that you have burning. To gaze into the center of each flame, holding your intention, holding your mantra if you need one, if you like one. Very gently beginning to blow your candles out one by one, extinguishing the Beltane fires, preparing to relight the fires, fueling them with your intentions, your transitions, your purification plans for this season. And softly allowing any of the candles, any of the lights you're working with to blow out. That's also really important, so obviously I don't set fire to myself, but also it's so warm when I'm playing for you. So before we move into the full sound bath, I wanted to tell you briefly about the shamanic interpretation of Beltane. It's, as you will have gathered, a very traditional kind of Celtic and pagan festival and ritual. But the shamanic wheel of the air and the pagan wheel and the Wiccan wheel do all kind of sit on top of each other, and they mark the transition of seasons and the transition of elements in much the same way. So from the shamanic perspective, we're elementally moving into fire season, and we're moving from air, and in shamanism we work much more with the elements rather than with the kind of the, I guess the kind of the, I can't think of the right word, the more physical aspects. So we're moving from air to fire, and that means that we're moving from this much more kind of floaty, intuitive aspect of life into something really quite direct and active. And again, you'll remember from the carnelian, this kind of stone of vitality and kind of forward progression, and then also this whole idea of fertility and boom, the seed of life and growth. All of these things are about action and progress. So in shamanism, we're really focusing on that aspect of moving through the wheel. We're also looking at this kind of sense of coming into our own power. Shamanism tends to look as well at the wheel of the air as kind of a transition through your whole life arc. So this Beltane season is the equivalent of being a teenager, which for some of us may be a happier memory than others. So looking back to that kind of time of life where you were hormonal, you were fire starting, coming into your own being for the first time. Okay, I'm just going to briefly open a window in a second because it's actually so warm in here. So we're going to begin to move towards our sound now. So please do grab whatever you need to be cozy. If you're still working with your crystals, I'll invite you to hold them in your hand in a moment, but just get yourself under your blanket into your personal space, and we'll just begin with a little guided meditation in just a moment. Very glamorously over smoked myself there, so I needed a little air. Pop this out of the room so it's somewhere less smoky, and then we'll continue with the sound. to your sacred space, to your ritual. Holding your intention, your concept of transition and purification, thinking about the Beltane fires, what they mean to you. Thinking perhaps in shamanic terms about this phoenix from the flames, which is so pertinent as we head towards my favourite full moon of the year, the Scorpio full moon next week. One of the symbols of Scorpio is the phoenix. And this phoenix energy, which is so much about renewal and rebirth, transformation, burning off the past, karma, all very scorpionic themes. They always seem so dark and shadowy when we see them through the Scorpio lens, but actually when you see them through this lovely Beltane festival of fertility and love and joy and union, they have something totally different to offer. I did forget to mention that traditionally May is the season of marriage and hand fasting. This would have been the only time of year that people got married at a certain point in history, because it was a time where we could honour this relationship between the gods and goddesses, between masculine and feminine. So if union's a theme that speaks to you, that's a nice one to bring in as well. We'll begin with the sounds tonight. So gently softening into yourself, into your breath. Feeling safe, supported and held wherever you are in your practice, wherever you are in your space. Feeling earth as she holds you, nourishes you, and protects you. Brushing across your cheeks, the air, the cosmos and far beyond, landing in the earthly plane, skimming your skin. Feeling yourself softly dissolving between the two, between earth and sky, a child of the universe, a child of all the elements. As you drop away from your physical being into somewhere beyond, into your subconscious mind, into the space beyond the I, the thinking you. Begin to feel a lightness behind your closed eyelids, your eyes, your vision bursts to life. You're floating, flying. Form frustration in your mind to soften. Find yourself drifting down into the earth, deep down, far below the ground on which you lie. Allowing yourself to drift far beyond this plane into wherever it is that you need to be this evening. I invite you to use your journey, whether for relaxation, for meditation, for therapy. Use it for whatever you need. Your intention ignites your practice. Use your intention wisely. yourself back in your physical body, deepening your breath, feeling your material, physical, earthly plane realign with that spiritual consciousness, higher plane that you've been visiting. Allow your breath to draw you back into your space, into your body, into your mind. Perhaps before moving too much, it's nice to just bring some small consciousness back into your fingers, your palms of your hands, your wrists. A few rotations can be nice. And then very gently place one hand over your heart center and one at the sacral center, which is just around the womb area. Towards the back of the body. Take a deep inhale, feel both hands lift as your body fills with air. Feel the energy in the palms of your hands as you connect with your energetic and auric field. Gradually finding your way back into your space. Maybe if you're working with oils, it's quite a nice time to send those oils back across your pulse points, or maybe under your nose, a little like smelling salts if you have any agua florida or any other shamanic tools. Now's a good time to bring those strong scents back into your body, to bring you back to your physical being. Thank you so much for being here for your sound journey this evening. I hope you've had a wonderful journey wherever you've been, enlightening and empowering and intriguing. It's always a good idea to grab your journal or a notepad and anything that comes to mind, any thoughts, any insights, any new awareness or just new feelings that have come up in this session. It's great to record them and just keep doing that for a few days and see where you get to, see what comes up for you. So we've extinguished our flames, the Beltane fires. And if you have been using a candle or anything with a flame in your space, then tomorrow morning I urge you, when you wake up, before you get to the coffee or the breakfast table, to just take a moment quietly somewhere with your candle, with your flame. Recall the intention you've set for yourself this evening, for your journey, and then relight the flame, relight the fire. And tonight we stay in the darkness, having extinguished the old stuff, having purified. We stay in transition, and tomorrow we spring into summer, into this new season of opportunity and fertility and growth. All those seeds we've been sowing in the last few months can finally start bursting to life. It's a really exciting feeling. So thank you all for your time and your energy this evening. I'm going to put some tunes on and stay online for a little longer if anyone has any questions or wants to say hi in the chat, or obviously I can talk to you just through here. Hopefully you all are fairly familiar with sound, but if you do have any questions about anything that's come up for you this evening, or indeed if you're watching this back later, you can reach me on all the usual channels. Email or direct messages are usually the best. I'll be happy to jump on a Zoom call or a phone call or anything you like if you'd like to talk through anything in more detail. I'm always here for you as we are for each other. If you have any questions about the specifics of stuff I've been using today, whether it's instruments or ritual kit, then again feel free just to ask at the end or another email and a message, and I can let you know. I do keep hugely plugging my ritual kits. They're called, well, the brand is called Rock and Ritual. If you would like to have a little kit of products, of crystals, of candles, of oils, of incenses ready to go for these sessions, or indeed for your own marking of any lunations or events, then drop me a line and have a look through my social. You'll find all about it there. So So the next major soundscape we have is actually only a week away. It's next Thursday, the 7th of May, which is the full moon in Scorpio, which I'm ridiculously excited about. I am a Scorpio. It's my half birthday, and I'm very excited to share Scorpio energy with you. And indeed, we've tapped into a little bit of that tonight with the Phoenix. The Phoenix rising from the ashes is a major Scorpio theme, so it's a great one to get going with for Beltane and carry forward. If you would like to access sound on demand, I have finally finished reorganising the website, so you can now jump on there and access 30-minute sessions. There's one that's the gongs and everything, and one that's just the crystal bowls. They get updated once a week, so every week you can go on, there'll be a new session. They are free to access, just as the live ones were. You're welcome to make a contribution if you would like, but I'm trying to keep those for everybody to jump into whenever they like. So if you do have any questions or problems accessing those, just let me know. I'll be happy to answer them for you. I think that's about it, guys. So before we leave each other, just spending a moment coming back to your space, just drawing to mind any immediate messages or responses that have come up for you, grounding back into your body, maybe taking a few deeper breaths, and as you exhale, pressing your feet or your sit bones, whatever's touching the ground, into the earth, feeling that physical connection. Take a big inhale in through the nose, exhaling out through the mouth. If you're inclined to draw your hands to heart center, then please do. And thank you all for being here with me and with each other this evening. I wish you all a happy Beltane, happy May Day, and a happy summer season. Namaste, everyone.